Last February, the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Association honored Trevor Denman with a Special Achievement Award for Best Thoroughbred Race Caller. The awards committee requested Jim Healy make the presentation. However, the event was a luncheon, and Jim just didn't go to luncheons. He was too busy writing a show. However, because of his admiration for the great South African, Healy sent a tape which stated that Denman was not only the best in history, every other race caller finished way up the track to him. Incidentally, Healy was a charter member of the Sportscasters and helped form the organization back in 1958. At the 1993 awards luncheon, Jim won for Best Radio Anchor.
Dateline, Toluca Lake, checking the calendar. 1 week from today, Southern California Sports Broadcasters announce their annual awards, but I will not repeat as Best Radio Anchor. They eliminated the category.
You talk about chicken
Journalist Bill Dwyer spent some enjoyable afternoons with Jim at the track.
He was totally in a comfort zone at the racetrack. He knew what was going on. He knew the people. He liked the people. He liked the sport. He liked the adventure, and he was good at it. There was a certain amount of tenseness about Jim, like there is about any of us who are on deadline or who are under the gun, no matter whether our profession is radio or newspapering. When I'd have lunch with him near the radio station once in a while, I could see that. It was lunch hour, and we could enjoy each other, but we had to look at our watches and go back and do it. At the racetrack, there was none of that. There was the only thing that was of pressure was getting bets down for the 5th race and then the 6th race. He was in his element. It was his total comfort zone. The color was better in his face. The voice was more relaxed, and there wasn't much discussion about what he had to get on the air the next night because that was tremendous pressure. Every night he had to do that. Every night, night after night. But this was an oasis for him. It was easy for him, and he never spent a lot of time at the track around people he didn't like. But most of the people at the track were people he did like.
Jim delighted his audiences with lots of racing items. Some serious, some not.
Dateline, Arcadia. Horse named De Hare. De Hare left NBC TV with egg on its face during its recent Breeders' Cup telecast. De Hare was named for the LA Clippers' #1 draft choice, Terry De Hare, who isn't doing very much either.
Right. You get to the point.
Well, at the top of its Breeders' Cup telecast, NBC labeled De Hare as racing's next super horse. But in the race itself, De Hare looked very much like a colt who's nothing but a sprinter. Finished 8th as the heavy favorite.
Say what?
Finished 8th. In other words, De Hare ran like D. Tortoise.
Jim Healy, you've got a weak show.
I thought it was f***ing brilliant.
We've been unable to determine whether Jim's true involvement in boxing was the result of his fondness for the sweet science or because he supplemented his income and stature as a fight announcer. Regardless, over the past 30 years, Jim did hundreds of fights on TV and was cast many times in movies as a ringside announcer. Longtime boxing publicist and promoter Don Fraser recalls when Healy became a full-time fight announcer.
Jim came into his own in the 60s at the Olympic Auditorium when Eileen Eaton was the promoter, and I was doing publicity at the Olympic. I moved up the ladder a little bit, and I was the matchmaker at the Forum for Boxing, and I think there was at least 1 or 2 big fights we had that Jim came in and did a special television broadcast for us. I remember one incident, though. Jim was doing a fight at the Olympic on television, and they didn't like the decision, the fans, so they had a riot. Jim says, "I'm getting out of here," and had to go off the air and duck under the ring to avoid being hit by bottles and such.
Dateline, Los Angeles. Follow-up flashback riot.